updates week. It's interesting. It's our 129th meeting, so yay. And what I have here are the notes from last time. And so last time we had, of course, Marcia giving us an awesome coverage of the Hero test implementation and updates and documentation. And then Susutha and Intel worked on that Intel PR for DPDK, and then I also included some pictures of us at OCP just here. And then we had, of course, the lengthy reading list. It was interesting, though. Last week we had completed 5 more issues than the prior week, and we had less waiting for review. I think that's people coming back from the international holiday and things like that. So, yeah. And then, of course, we had the longer write-up down here. And if this gets to be too much, guys, let me know, and I could try and shorten it up. And then, of course, links to the YouTube videos. So. Did anyone have something you wanted to cover first today? And so a couple more people joined. Hi, Murali. Hi, Vinod. Okay.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, good morning. So if no one has anything they wanted to cover first, I can show you what's happened in the last week, if that's okay. So can you guys see my screen here? I'm super audio. Is that
yeah.
Okay, cool. So what happened, I was surprised. What happened this last week is a lot more got done. I used the tag done this week, but it looks like Jimmy Zhai, or I guess we call him Junhua, is back. And so he, for example, merged this add flow into the BMV2 pipeline. So I wish he was here to talk about it, but he did the second part of the implementation to have stateful packet processing. So that was complete. And stop me if you have questions about certain things. Xiaofeng also put some more in for the implementation of flow actions for BMV2. So that was done. And that one's been going on for a while. And so the SmartSwitch reboot HLD, that one also came through. So this high level design, Murali, do you maybe know a bit about this one, or? If you don't, that's okay.
This is Vasundhara's proposal. I think we have reviewed all of this stuff.
Yep.
And
it's merged.
Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. Okay. That's.
Yep. And Sasha might be familiar with this one too, or Yakiv, but this one was a lot of work. So this one though is interesting because, it talks about the reboot, and specifically like when we know, did we want to how do we want to keep the DPU? Is it active or in a kind of a down state? This one was kind of interesting. So
right, yeah, it talks about basically selectively be able to reboot via an API, send down to the DPU, things like that, right? So there's a whole state machine inside that. So yeah, I mean, those who are interested definitely can
it's
go
pretty
through
cool.
that. Yeah.
Yep. And then so it looks like that's done. And then we had this one in the SONiC repo, and it was Lawrence and Prabhat going through this one. This was support for the SiDash appliance object. And so Mukesh did this from AMD. Thank you, Mukesh. And this one's gone through review and merge. So that's good. And this one here, we added a dark mode definition for SmartSwitch PMONs. This one's also kind of interesting, and this was Vasundhara again. I think she was going to work this in a different PR. Yeah, so she's closing this PR and she's working 1709. Take a peek at that one. Did it come up? Yeah, okay, so that's in the SONiC repo, and that one's still open. So working a lot of different changes, working on that one. And so I also noticed this one was done, and it's an update of DPUGen, and I'm actually not sure what this does. I think this is more of a Mercia thing. I mean, I know Riff did it, but I guess we're just updating to a newer version.
Yeah, so Vinod made the PR, and he's helping. This is small changes to fix the issues that I had on my list. So Vinod is helping with that, and he's breaking it out in smaller PRs.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. I thought I knew what it was, but I wanted to just make sure. So thanks for that. And then this is kind of along the same lines where we're updating the submodule. I believe it's just an update. I would have to ask. Riff's not able to join today, but they basically updated Zhai to the latest master. So it seems like a ton of work. And then this one is interesting. The create only attribute for the appliance local region ID. It was both in the dash repo here, and then it was dependent on the open compute repo. I think it was here. So open compute side 2094. So this one is merged, which then goes back into ours, which is, so they're both ready to go. So I kind of try and keep track of the open compute and the SONiC and the dash interactions between the PRs. So there's that one. And here we had, this is new, and it was just changing the underlay time to live to match production. And this was pretty recent, like as in the last half a day or so. And I know we don't have Marianne here to explain it, but it seems pretty self-explanatory. And then this one is the P4DPDK that we had been working on with SOSUTHA. That was dependent on P4 Lang and P4C, and this PR seems to be merged here. So I don't know if SOSUTHA's here. Let me look. I don't see her, but she could probably go back and close hers. And so this one was course reviewed by Andy and Fabian. Is it Fabian? Yeah, and these guys. Any comments on this one, Andy?
Just that it doesn't completely compile the dash P4 program yet. It's like 80% of the missing operations, but still missing a few.
And I think I remember reading that. Yeah. I'll make a note.
Yeah, it's definite progress, but it's not all the way there.
Okay. And then, of course, the ones I was working on that are going nowhere. We have this one here, the support for ENI counters, and this is in the SWSS SONiC repo. And so this one, unfortunately, the branch is out of date, so they need to re-pull it, but that would be great to have that support there for the ENI counters. Hope I'm not going too fast. And yeah, that's pretty much all I had for the day. How about you guys?
There's no rush on this. I just thought I would ask if you had any follow-up conversations after the one discussing the reference model and test suite development.
Yeah, I've talked with a couple of people who are my peers or kind of like people I look to for advice on things like that. And I guess I'm of the mind, I guess I do still think it's important, the behavioral model, just because it does describe what we're trying to do and kind of provides a reference. The execution though, and whether we need to pursue the gaps, et cetera, I'm still turning over in my head. And I had a call about that yesterday as well. Did you have any opinions, Andy?
Oh, none that I no new ones. I was just curious if there was any.
Yeah. Now I did notice. Yeah, and I did notice, and we have a meeting tomorrow that Riff said he could make, and we have more work that's been done internally on is it the data plane app or the shim app that Riff was working on. And so, yeah, it'd be an interesting conversation. No, I haven't landed on a definitive answer. Still cogitating. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I guess I could summarize it. Maybe the big question is, would it be perhaps beneficial to focus on creating an authoritative Dash test suite even without a reference model that runs them?
Yeah, because weren't we talking about maybe just running side tests or, some other mechanism?
I mean, I guess the argument that I heard that gave the most weight was apparently, SONiC has an extensive test suite. As far as I know, there's no open source reference model for that. There's just
Correct.
SONiC implementations, switch implementations.
Yeah.
And
I was
that seems to be not a bad approach as long as you know the test. I mean, there are other ways to correct the test suite if bugs creep into the test suite by, vendors saying, hey, that doesn't seem to be a correct test, go fix the test. Or, so Dash could potentially have a large test suite created carefully and updated as needed if bugs creep in by that checking mechanism.
Yeah. Do you think you'll be able to come to the call tomorrow, Andy, to talk about it more?
Let's see, is it on the, let me check my calendar.
It's 10:30 Pacific, I think.
So,
Okay.
so Andy, I mean, I saw your note also, and what I'm understanding here is just like the SONiC management suite runs directly on the hardware, we want the Dash suite to run on the vendor devices, and then we figure out a way to make sure the same test runs on vendor A and vendor B or C, things like that, and we work in the community to resolve those. Is that
I
the
mean,
model?
it's basically exactly what we're doing now, I think, except without the goal, remove the goal of having an open source reference model that runs the test. That it's basically that. And then that opens the question, well, how do you know the test suite is correct? And
Correct.
the answer to that could be, well, you do what you do today for SONiC switch tests. You run them on various vendors. And if they believe they're in the right and the test suite is in the wrong, they file a bug against the test suite.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, because that's an exhaustive list of tests, but somehow that mechanism works in the switch side, right? I guess what you're saying here is the same model can work here.
I think the reason it works is people write the tests in such a way that even without the reference model, they kind of head simulate it and they construct the tests in such a way that they know what the packet in, packet out behavior ought to be, and they're usually right.
Correct.
And occasionally they make a mistake and then they fix it.
Yeah, here it may be a little bit easier because, I mean, in that model, there's various topologies of suites, right? There's a T0 suite, there's a T1 suite, there's all kinds of, combinations inside that. And the specific tests are crafted with the known set of topologies and capabilities to bring in there. So definitely, it's carefully crafted. I guess here it may be a little bit simpler because this is just a DPU, but there may be different pipelines of capabilities, right? So what we are doing today with VNet or private link is one, but there may be other scenarios that may come down the line. There may slight variations to the pipeline of capabilities, and the creators of the test really need to know what this in and out will be and what the transforms will be to really craft the test.
The same for any complex tests for a complex device. You need to know what you're testing to write correct tests. Yeah. So I'm not saying this is a foregone conclusion that the Dash reference model should be abandoned. I'm just saying it was an interesting question proposed with some, existing useful working models of that mentioned. So it's a question, not an answer right now.
Agreed. I mean, the reference model on the flip side does provide some level of common standard for everybody to kind of agree on, because the API is generated this way, the pipeline is set up this way. It's one packet at a time. It kind of, if it works there, then it should work on your individual, vendor specific, platform. Provides some sort of unifying force, but obviously has some cost of maintenance and work and development.
Yep.
and contribution too, right? Which is
Yeah.
the challenge.
Yeah. And I think, Microsoft's contributing quite a bit, or trying to anyway. I think hopefully we can talk more about it tomorrow in our slotted time. And I did a little research of my own, Andy, just to figure out like the SONiC management tests. I'm not as familiar with these, here on, I hope you can still see my screen, as I am with what we're doing. But, I was like, are they a side test? What are they? How do they work? And, and of course they're not side tests.
Christina, there's a subset under SONiC management that I haven't looked at for a long time, but where they run a subset of PTF tests in the SONiC management test bed. There's actually a mechanism for where they take a running SONiC box and install or activate the Thrift server and run some side tests. But I can't say that I'm very well versed in that.
Yeah.
To me, that would be the place where we could add dash tests, but someone in SONiC management might be able to correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. And I don't think I have SONiC representation today. Let me look here. I don't, and I knew I wasn't going to have that. And I thought I could handle this one on my own, but maybe we can get Prince to talk more about it in a different call, or Riff tomorrow, maybe.
But when we had another conversation, I'd posed a rhetorical question. What if we got rid of the behavioral model in P4 and that was not even part of this working group? How would that affect us going forward starting next week? What would we suddenly realize, oh, we're lost without that as our sort of central thing to talk about? Or would it just be fine and we'd write SI interface specs and textual descriptions of how things work and expect that site tests, are the proving ground on hardware? Would that suddenly ruin our velocity, for example? It might.
Yeah.
Because you can't try out something until someone puts it in the SONiC management test bed on their hardware, right? It might suddenly turn a feedback loop that's 1 week into 1 month or 2 months. I'm just curious if people have thought that out. Are we benefiting from a really fast feedback loop here, at least for prototyping things, versus waiting for it to trickle out into the real hardware world?
I think that's valuable. And you're right, we were able to try quite a few things right away, Chris, when we started. Yeah. Okay,
I am able to make the meeting tomorrow and happy to
cool. Awesome.
talk more about it tomorrow. I just thought I would ask on the
Thank you.
status.
Yeah, that's as far as I've gotten. But I was thinking about it pretty heavily there. So yeah. Other than that, guys, anything else for today? Any feedback for me? Reporting, anything like that? Okay, Marcia, when did you think you wanted to maybe merge your hero test further detailed document? You want to wait another week, or?
Yeah, next meeting should be good.
Okay, all right, we'll look at it next meeting. Okay, well, I thank you all for your time. And sorry about that weird AI report that went out. That was not me. So I stopped that bot at the beginning of this conversation, and I can let you have some time back. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Talk to you later.
Christina.
Bye. Bye.